everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in this episode, we're going to discuss everything about periodic journal at the GL level. So I'm going to explain three things. Number one, what is periodic journal? What's the difference between periodic journal and the regular general journal? Number two, what is the use case? What's a business scenario that requires this functionality? And number three, how we can set this up in the system with the end-to-end demo. So without further ado, let's dive into the topic. So as a starting point, let's understand what is periodic journal and what's the difference. So typically, let's say from the accounting perspective, you want to record some journal entries. Those can be one time of journal entry. For example, okay, I have a adjustment or reclass journal entry, then I just need to book that from the accounting GL book. So if that's the case, then we generally just go to modules and find general ledger and book that as a general ledger journal as a standard or regular one. And now let's say your accounting department, they want to book some recurrent type of journal entries. For example, I have monthly rent to pay out, or I have payroll that I need to record at the GL balance level using my expense account versus my bank account. And on monthly basis, all the detailed transaction lines are the same. The only difference is on the transaction date, for example. So if that's the case, we can definitely leverage the functionality called periodic journal. And in short, that's kind of a journal template in Dynamics that you can use to retrieve every time on a new journal entry without manually inputting everything again and again, right? So that's in short, what is periodic journal and what's the difference? Now let's move on to the number two topic, in which business scenario you will need to use this functionality. Typically, you can use this periodic journal to manage recurring transactions like monthly rent payments or some accrual transactions that the amount doesn't change, but the date will get updated for each month. Or if you have any interest payments or any other recurrent transactions, you can basically use this functionality. So with that said, let's have a look at in the system how we can set it up and what's the end-to-end process. So the first step, we'll need to define the journal template. So we call it periodic journal, right? So that's again under general ledger module. And you can see under journal entries, we have this periodic journals. So this is the place where you define all the relevant journal entries as template. So for example, here we have monthly payroll journal, we have interest expense or monthly selling, administrative type of expense. So all those recurrent transactions can be recorded here. Let's just take an example of this monthly payroll journal. And if you want to create a new journal template, you can simply go to new. And from here, I just click lines to get into the details. So first thing, this is similar to a GL journal entry, but you're going to see some differences as part of the periodic journal. The date is your first period where this journal template will be used, and this date will be retrieved in your general journal as the first period of transaction. So you're going to see that date being updated once you have a journal created. And then for voucher, you can leave this blank because this is not the actual transaction with voucher posting. This is more as a journal template. So the system will automatically consider the voucher and pull it in the new general journal. All right. And then from here, account type, you can actually define whether this should be a ledger transaction or subledger for customer, vendor, project, fixed asset, all that. So this is really flexible and powerful. You can define whatever journal template you need, hitting all the subledgers. And moving to the right, you do have the account combination together with the financial dimensions, similar to a GL journal, description, debit, credit, and the offset account. So in my scenario, this is a monthly payroll journal. So I'm going to have debit side for my expense account, and the offset will be my bank account. Together with the currency, so this is all similar to the GL journal entry. Now, moving to the next part, this unit column, this is a difference only belonging to this periodic journal functionality. So here you're going to define how often or what is the frequency of using this periodic journal as template. So let's say for my monthly payroll recording, obviously the journal needs to be retrieved on monthly basis. So here I select month as my unit, or you can pick days, years. So next one for the number of units, you need to define what's the frequency, right? So here, month one, that means on monthly basis, every month I will be using this journal. Or you can put days, every 15 days, you're going to retrieve this journal. So you may ask, what's the purpose of defining this frequency? Actually, this is going to drive the journal generation date, meaning that for now, you see we're having the date as 1/20/2026. And once I create a new journal entry, retrieve this template, this periodic journal template will be updated with the new date automatically moved to the next period based on the frequency we defined, meaning that's going to move to 2/20/2026. So you're going to see that in a second from the demo. But typically, this is a use case of unit and the number of units. And this last date, basically, this is just have the periodic journal to prevent duplicated entries, meaning that if there is one period being posted, then this periodic journal last date will be updated. So that way the system can prevent you from posting a second periodic journal with the same date. And this is more based on the posted transactions. All right, so now we have gone through the details of a periodic journal template. And of course, feel free to explore all other fields available. This is really similar to the GL, so you can define all the input if needed. And from here, let's say I have my journal template ready. You can just save it and get back out. So the next step, once we have the template ready, we're going to create an actual journal transaction. And in that journal transaction, instead of manually creating line by line or duplicating each line, I can just retrieve this template. So let me show you. I'm going to open up another tab. And from here, I just navigate to this general journal screen, and I'm going to create a new one. So for this one, let's pick this general journal and go to lines. Okay, so now you see by default I have a blank line, and I will be able to directly retrieve my periodic journal template from this period journal drop-down list. You see you have this retrieve journal option. So when I click on that, here are some parameters we can define. First thing, to date. To which date you want to pull this periodic journal, meaning that in your new GL journal created, what is the transaction date you want to use? So from our example, just to make it consistent, the next period will be 1/20/2026. So let me put this. So the to date will be 1/20/2026. And then you need to select which journal template you want to use. So from this drop down, we're going to test this monthly payroll journal. So I'm going to click on this. And after that, you can also select for this template, do you want to just copy the data, or you actually want to move the template to this transaction? So that means that journal entry from the periodic side will no longer exist. So in our case, we always want to copy. All right, so with that, you are ready to retrieve the journal entry. So I just do OK, let the system run through. And in a second, you're going to see the whole periodic journal is pulled in with the to date, which is defined, 1/20/2026. And you can also see that the voucher has been auto-populated based on whatever journal we're selecting. So this is not restricted by the periodic journal. This is more following the GL journal name. All right, and just checking it quickly, moving to the right side, you have the expense account and also the description, debit, credit, offset, bank. This is as expected. So from here, we have currency, rate, all that. So this is all from the periodic journal. Now you can just check, verify the amount, and then just post it directly. So this is from the general ledger side. Now, the other thing I want to show you is the key benefit of using periodic journal is on the dates. So we talked about it briefly. So now if we switch back to the periodic journal template, you see I'm on the periodic journals and open up this monthly payment journal. And here you see directly the date has been automatically updated to 2/20/2026. This is also as expected, meaning that the system has already considered the previous date being pulled into a new journal entry. So now the template has to update the new date to the next available period based on the frequency, right? So that's the next month in February 2026. So this is quite powerful because if you have recurring entry, instead of manually adjust the date, the periodic journal gives you the flexibility to update this field automatically. All right, and then the last column for the last date, this doesn't change because I have not posted my GL journal entry. So again, this is based on the posted journals. If I post it, it's going to be updated to January 2025. All right, and with that being said, this is the whole end-to-end demo for the periodic journal functionality, but just some pro tips or some side notes here. Number one, this periodic journal, for some reason, Microsoft has removed the Excel add-in functionality, meaning that to create that journal template, you no longer have the possibility to use Excel add-in. So it has to be manual or copy paste. And you can only export to Excel. So this is quite restrictive. I'm not fully sure about the reason, but if you know that, please feel free to comment it down below, or if you have any workarounds to make this journal template creation easier, please feel free to share. And the second thing I want to highlight is we can definitely be flexible when we use this periodic journal, meaning that even though you may have some amount changes or maybe the date is not updated, that means you don't need to have the exact data template to use this periodic journal functionality, meaning that in case on monthly basis, you do need to update some amounts or you need to update some descriptions or the days will somehow get off 1 or 2 days, you can still consider to use this functionality. But in that case, the tips I can share is you use a standard periodic journal as template, and then you upload here, moving into the just GL journal, retrieving this periodic journal template. And once it's done, you can always do an Excel add-in. So using this connector, general journal line entry, and do a mass update for your new journal entry in case you need to change some amount or update certain dates or descriptions. So there are some flexibilities there. All right, so with that, that really covers everything. I hope this is helpful. Please like, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.